Don't y'all miss when life seemed simpler, when it felt like the worries of the world weren't of any of your concern? Don't you miss when it felt like you could smile and you know that smile where you see kind of somebody smiling for what you think is for no reason? You just smiling because it's a joy to be alive. It's a joy to be curious, and it feels like a long time past. It feels like the golden age of us, of youth, of being blissfully ignorant. It felt like it was at a time where you weren't forced to deal with a lot of. You couldn't really understand what insecurity was. You didn't understand what, you couldn't possibly understand a lot of the more intricate, complex natures of people. You kind of just knew something is one thing and a different thing is another thing. And I'm talking about feelings. I'm not talking about like negative things like prejudices or anything like that, because overall that's a stupid way to move through life and to carry that with you. But I'm talking about just the simple pleasures. Like you got to just play the game. You got to go to school, come back home, and not have to worry about working all day, and you just, you know, at a time where unfortunately you probably couldn't perceive what your parents wanted for you, but as you got older though you did know that they likely meant the best for you, or your friends or your brothers and sisters or somebody might have wanted the best for you, and you weren't exactly receptive to it because of the way that you were younger, you were immature, you weren't as wise, you didn't experience nearly as much as you presently have. But that's what I miss. I miss those days. I don't dwell in them, but I do miss them. God only knows I miss those days. Man, I kind of miss when I was coming up and in the household, like the way I grew up, and I love that I grew up like this, and I'm going to impart this onto my own kids. Like this is just, I prefer this way of. I remember my mom telling me don't curse until you're of legal age, and make sure you go to school and, try to get a good education so you can get a good job, but you could be whatever it is you want to be. So even if college isn't that next step for you after high school, at least get your education. At least go get your diploma, which is something I'm currently working on, but I just miss seeing how much my mom really loved me in those days. Because honestly, if I could go back just to not like be there again quite, but just to witness just the love that my mom, that just the love I experienced in my life, despite all a lot of the turmoil that we had to go through coming up, basically having no money. I really wish I could go back or just relive it from a mental perspective and just fully witness so much of my mom's love and my family's love and my best friend's love. I mean, that's only strengthened as of recently, but it's something so pure about being a kid and you're not fully aware of it. And, when you're able to play your games and enjoy the video games at the time when the PS2 or PS3 was the most realistic graphics we had, that was just a nice time to be, a nice time to be alive, a nice time to live. When we didn't have, I grew up in the early 2000s. I'm an '03 baby, so I kind of grew up with a lot of the '90s stuff before, like just before it fully vanished into obscurity. Up until trends decide to make it trendy again, and anyway, yeah. I just wanted to reflect back on simpler times because I'm kind of feeling a reflective mood anyway. I don't want to, be on my soapbox and preaching and whatnot, but I just wanted to just reflect. I just wanted to reflect on simpler times or seemingly simpler times, a seemingly simpler life, even though you've seen your mom or your dad struggling trying to hold down a job, if they could even do that. and you're just being, yet they were able to make your birthdays like magic. They were able to make your Christmases feel like magic, your Thanksgivings like magic, at least up until a certain point. But I just, and I know I'll experience that someday when I find my lady, and find my special somebody, and her and I can have kids at that point in my life. Then I'll fully be able to grasp then what it's like to have to like stress and go through all this and then make everything pop out like magic to those little ones. But man, like those times were special. I know it's nostalgia, but like there was a genuinely a time where I don't think it's just nostalgia, because I remember the feeling. I mean, it also came with a lot more insecurity, unfortunately, and a lot more of an imposter syndrome that's lasted with me through this point, but it was way more prevalent then. But I just miss the good times, and at least the good times that I was able to try to find. And that's kind of what we should aspire to look for anyway. It's just simpler times. Or I should say, we should aspire to recreate what made us love life in the first place. And I'm not saying recreate it word like picture for picture, but I mean just try to live your best life and work on yourself and do what you need to be doing and get up off your seat. Don't be scrolling in that phone for hours, and don't be wasting your time talking to people that aren't worth your energy or aren't going to really listen to you when you talk, and you know it, because they're like, oh yeah, cool, and then it's just like after all that it's just idle talk. There is no real talking. And sometimes it's best to just not say anything. There's some days where it's like, okay, you should just, maybe talking to them today isn't the right move, or talking to them as much as I normally do today isn't quite the right move, and like, just again, just we should aspire for those simpler times again. And I'm not saying recreate it and be stuck in this childish mindset. I mean, just look at what made life feel like it was worth living and get back into being curious, because our brains were at the most open at that point, open to the most change, also being the most stubborn at that point. But yeah, yeah. That's all I wanted to say. I miss simpler days. I miss the simpler, seemingly simpler days. No responsibilities, no real responsibilities other than school and after school program, and then coming back home makes me, by a certain time, and you know, and dealing with consequences of my own actions immediately. Whenever I messed up, I miss those days too, because that all made me who I am, and everything I've been through from that point on and how I chose to respond made me who I am. So I wanted to say. That's all I wanted to say. Just wanted to get that off my chest a little bit. I hope y'all have a blessed night. Jesus Christ, it's cold out here. My hand feels like it's got like frostbite or something. All right, let me go back in. I'll be seeing y'all.